All right, chat. There we are. Give me the old thumbs up if you can see me and Nolan, but we should be alive. This is the Live Before Lock NFL edition. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Nolan Kelly as we get to watch the Seattle Seahawks take on the Minnesota Vikings. I said my brother, I would put this up for him. My birthday gift from a few years ago, Nolan. It's the Steve Largent autographed
It's beautiful.
picture. And what does it say? It says, to my old pal Emac, keep cashing. There you go.
Keep catching?
Cashing.
Keep catching.
Cashing, like DFS. No,
I love it.
It says, to Eric, all the best, Steve Largent.
That's amazing.
But there we are. But we've got a lot of stuff going on tonight. We have Cyber Monday deal here at the oldosmo.com. It expires tonight at 3 a.m. So you have time, but just for $1, you get 1 week of all Osmo access if you use the promo code Cyber Monday. Now we've put a little restrictor on it at the moment because we got so many coming in. We're processing the transactions, but again, that goes till 3 a.m. Eastern time tonight. So you have plenty of time to jump in, get it for the full week. Gosh, I think if you were to sign up after midnight, you would get that extra day too. Just saying, I don't know if there's people that like to color outside the lines just a little bit. We'll mention that. But yeah, here we are. So we've got. I better send the tweet out here. It's always fun behind the scenes here because Nolan does some hockey. I do some hockey. I do some basketball, and then of course I'm playing all the slates for football. I had one heck of a nice weekend for football. Not Ben Roza style, not Chris Randone style, but it was solid. It was solid. I had my second best week of the year. Yeah, I made I cleared just over $1,000, and if Tyler Lockett gets a touchdown tonight, I will add to that. Because I've got
I saw you in first in a GPP I was in, and I was going to message you, but it was too early, so I didn't want to like jinx you or anything. Did you end up doing well?
I made about $1,000, so it was not. I mean, my best week this season, I think I made $1,800 or something like that. So it's one of those where I had a very good main slate team, but I had almost all the players going early except for Higbee. But so I was excited because I had Devontae Parker in my main lineup, but then I didn't have Robert Woods, who came back and scored. I forget who scored more, but they were within like 2 points of each other. They both scored 33 or 35 points. So it was one of those where quite a few people caught me with that. But I had some Thursday to Monday and some Sunday to Monday. So I've still got a couple teams live tonight that have a Seahawk on them. And it looks like most of them have Lockett. So.
Is that your Monday to Thursday contest?
The other way, Thursday to Monday. But yeah, so start Thanksgiving night through Monday Night Football. So that's
Sounds
fun.
Good. Yeah, I like it. I like the matchup. So I like having Lockett as the hammer. Minnesota pretty bad against opposing wide receiver ones, even though he's not a traditional wide receiver one and runs a lot out of the slot. He's got a good shot to go off tonight, I think.
Let's see. I love this. Yeah, well, your picks sucked last night. I don't know how many else people said Duke Johnson. I did. I did pretty well. Edelman was adequate. I was completely off James White, though. I said I was playing no...
who wasn't?
Yeah, I was playing no Patriots running back. I said, I don't know who's going to do well. James White, of all of them, is always my favorite, but I've been burned enough times this year, and if you look at his game log, I mean, over his last 3 games, he had, 11 carries and 16 targets or something like that. That's not what you want. And I was not feeling the Belichick mind meld by any stretch. So I ended up making $1 on my showdown slates. So that anytime you don't lose all of it, it's a success. Showdown slates, and I'll say it again, you wave goodbye to that money and you hope some of it comes back. These are very difficult. Everything's very, very top heavy, and we're trying to thin slice something that's already thin sliced. So it's tricky like that. So on these tonight, I've got 2 stands. I am going to have Russell Wilson and Dalvin Cook in almost every lineup, and they're going to be my interchangeable captains. My main lineup at this point, I am going with Wilson as my captain, because I'm a Seahawks fan. If this game was in Minnesota, it would be It would be Cook, but they're the pair that I'm going around. Now, how are we going to get there? Well, that's what Nolan and I are going to talk about, because that's a very top-heavy lineup, because I would also like to have Lockett in there as well. And you've got to go a little dumpster diving, Nolan, I think is what they call that.
There's not a lot of dumpster diving to do on these two. I don't know if you got anyone, but I certainly do not have a lot of great options here.
All right. Let's see if you want to. I've got a lot of windows open. I need to drop this. If you want to kind of lead us through this. Oh, but I'll give the shout out to Super Draft, because they do have single game contests now, and it's superdraft.io. And the best part, we do not have to worry about salary caps anymore, Nolan. They have multipliers. So how it works is you just fill out the positions. You can pick any player you want as long as they meet the position requirements, and each player has a multiplier. So this week it was Christian McCaffrey had a multiplier of 1. So whatever his fantasy points were, that's what you got. And then Sanders from Philadelphia, I think he had like a 1.45 multiplier or something like that. So he took his score and multiplied it by 1.45. Well, that turned out to be pretty good. Devontae Parker had a multiplier, etc. So you can play all the studs, but they balance it out by giving the guys that are not the Pro Bowlers additional multipliers, and it's a fun way to play. So they have 50-50s, they've got GPPs, they got all the formats you're used to. They are supported by Fantasy Cruncher. You can upload if you want to do the mass multi-entry, and their whole what do we call it? Their marketing plan is overlay. So they're going to continue doing overlay. They're running it at about 20% on their big Sunday contest, and then they are also running it for NBA. They will be going forward once NFL's over. They'll make sure that they always have some contests that are going to have overlay in them, and that's their plan, is because they'd like people to come and try it out. So it's definitely a good way to do it. I dropped the link in chat. If you use the promo code OSMO, put in $100, and you come in on that link, you will get $20 immediately from them. Now, you can't withdraw that $20, but it's the first money that comes out of your account when you're playing. If you don't use the promo code OSMO, you only get $10. So there's the special deal you get. So I've just been playing off that $20 because I've lost a few here as I've gotten used to it, but then I won a couple bucks, and I'm kind of churning through that. I'm up to, or I've lost $3 total, and I think I've played through $30. So that's not horrible as I'm learning a new site. Risk-free, by the way. Risk-free.
Fair.
All right. Take it from the top here, Nolan. We have two quarterbacks, 45 combined touchdowns, 6 combined interceptions. How do they do that? Well, they don't make a lot of risky passes, and both teams like to run.
Yeah, a lot of running. Two of the top 10 run-heavy teams in terms of play calling, though. Like, Minnesota's gone away from that. It's kind of funny. I was looking at this game, thinking back to doing summer research for the coming season, and remembering that it was like you couldn't draft Seattle Seahawks passers, or you couldn't draft Lockett or Wilson because Seattle wanted to run the rate at, like, they ran at that 63% clip or something obscene like that last year, and everyone thought Minnesota was heading that direction too. And lesson learned, these two, that lowered their draft position pretty heavily in a lot of season-long leagues. And of course now we have them, to not exactly pass happy attacks, but a little bit more than what we thought they'd be. So I don't know. I like them both tonight. I like Russell Wilson a little bit more. I think our projections probably agree. We have Wilson projected for 22 points tonight, which is just shy of Dalvin Cook. But strangely, we're giving him a far lower chance of being one of the top player on the slate. So Dalvin Cook at about a 40% chance of being the top player on the slate on DraftKings, and on FanDuel 44%, and then Wilson's just about a third of that. So I think taking in mind ownership, Cook is the top play at the captain's spot tonight. But I don't mind going with Russell Wilson if you're into the quarterbacks tonight. And of course, Kirk Cousins looks like he's going over-owned in the captain spot, 12%, only 5% chance of being the top scorer tonight, which makes some sense. He's missing his one of his top 2 targets there tonight, Thielen. So,
yeah, with the interesting thing about Thielen is he's been out enough games, enough days here that we kind of know what we're going to see. And the thing that really stood out for me when I was doing the research for the primetime article, so let me drop that into chat there for everybody that hasn't read that yet. It's a free article that we put out for each of these primetime games regardless of whether or not I'm on the show. The show's kind of a companion piece for this. But what I did learn is, as I'm scrolling down here, so I said, even though Adam Thielen has missed most of the last 4 games, Stephon Diggs has averaged only 5.5 targets in those games. Odubisi Johnson has averaged nearly 4 in those, and then 10 have gone to the running backs or tight ends, and 8 have gone to the running backs. So Diggs is seeing about his normal workload. Nobody's going to him extra at all, which is what we would have thought. Now, all we need him to do is just the defense needs to have one mental lapse, and he's gone. So I mean, we've seen that in playoff games. We've seen that in high pressure situations. He's a very, very good receiver, but the volume's really not there to support it, which is kind of interesting. A lot of that has to do, again, with that controlling offense. And Kirk Cousins is not necessarily the best deep ball thrower either. So they tend to play, more with both tight ends are getting usage, and then Cook seeing, almost as many targets himself as Diggs is.
Yeah, great points. And since the loss of Thielen, they've essentially gone to a 2 tight end base set from offense. They're running 12 personnel at a rate that's like comparable to the Eagles. So you're getting a lot of Irv Smith and a lot of Kyle Rudolph and Olabisi Johnson running out of the slot there as well, kind of moving in and out. And then down the list is Laquan Treadwell, who's kind of moving in and out of in wide sets and in 3 wide receiver sets. But for the most part, I think I kind of actually like the contrarian move tonight would be maybe stacking up both tight ends. You kind of worry sometimes about whether or not both tight ends are actually going to be running routes in 2 tight end sets, but it looks like it, and it looks like they're second and third in routes run since Thielen's gone down. So I got no problem firing up both of them tonight. Actually, I got a little sneaky sprinkle of cheddar here. I just bet a nice 25-1 Irv Smith first and last touchdown scored.
Wait, first and last?
Yeah, I bet them both because why not?
Oh, okay. I didn't know you. So they're individual bets. They're not in lockstep.
25-1 each way.
Gotcha.
Touchdown score. So, kind of like that. Kind of like it. I always like to take a random tight end, and it's been good to me so far. So
that is one of the bonuses of living up there in the old Canada.
Yeah.
You get
gambling all the time.
Wow.
We get Bet365, which is nice too, man. Like it's the best betting site for sure.
Yeah, we don't have any of those here in Northern Virginia. That's okay. DFS is illegal in my home state of Washington, so I'm glad I'm out here on the other side of the country.
It's so backwards. I don't get it.
Yeah, it is not fun, but there we are. So we agree on the top 2 plays. Are going to be Cooks and Wilson. After that, we start to need some salary, but there's also some, then there's Lockett. I have been able to get Lockett into my lineups, but then I immediately am going double tight end or double kicker. And that is just the price we're going to have to pay. You can get a little crafty on DraftKings. There's a couple really cheap guys. You need to expect a 0 from them. But they can make it so instead of you counting on, 2 lesser players, you have one basically 0 and then 1 mediocre player. So you have to decide what you want to do there.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, there are some spots to save, but like the Minnesota side of the ball is very concentrated offensively, right? So you have like everyone that we've gone over so far is pretty much accounting for the vast majority of the targets and snaps on offense. And then let me just pull up. I had the Seattle side pulled up here. Jacob Hollister, interesting. He's one of the strengths of this Minnesota defense is their tight end coverage. They are. I had it pulled up. I lost it. They're good against tight ends, so they have been in DVOA against tight ends. So that's something to keep an eye on, though. Like he's clearly the third dog in this offense, I would say right now. So there's another possible cost saver, but the options are pretty limited here.
Yeah, and if we look at Hollister, he is the kind of the third tight end to come through there for the Seahawks. The interesting thing about him is he was an offseason acquisition. They got him as part of a trade. New England was trading up to get somebody, so I think there was a pick swap, and then Seattle ended up with Hollister, who wasn't a throw-in. He was somebody they wanted, but they had Nick Vannett and they had Will Dissly, and then the aging veteran Ed Dixon. none of those guys are active anymore. Disley's hurt. They traded Vanette, and Dixon. I don't know that Dixon's played at all yet this year. He's been dinged up the whole year. So all of a sudden, we've seen Hollister get 20 targets over the last 3 games, 14 catches, 121 yards, 3 touchdowns. The other interesting thing of Wilson's 24 touchdowns, 7 of them have gone to the tight end. It was a similar percentage last year as well. So this is something that he likes to do is go to the tight end, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Minnesota second in defending tight ends this season in DVOA. So pretty tough tight end defense. I think it's Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr, both 2 of the better cover tight ends out there, running backs and tight ends there. So something definitely to keep an eye on. Might affect. Might have to downgrade him just a little bit there, but any other guys you're looking at, like any bargain options lower down? Like what about Rashad Penny? Is Chris Carson's fumbleitis back?
So Carson fumbled 4 times in the first 3 games. I want to say it was. He only lost 1 of them. He's fumbled, or he lost 1 in each game. He's fumbled 4 times again in the last 3 games, and he's only lost 1 of them. And then the 5 games in between, he didn't have any fumbles. Penny, I think it was like 14 carries or 16 carries for 120 some yards last week. He was ineffective as a rookie, but they also had Mike Davis in addition to Chris Carson. And then this year he's been dinged up. He's neither at this point. He just hasn't had opportunity. So Coach Pete Carroll, let's see, this was a joke gift, but here we go. My friend sent me a Pete Carroll picture.
It's beautiful.
Like 5 years ago. Pete looks much younger there. He wanted to give me I asked for a frame, and he printed out a Pete Carroll photo. So I just bought another frame for whatever I needed, and I kept that one as a joke. So every time he comes over, we salute the Seahawks Super Bowl run there. But in any event, I don't know what to do with Pete Carroll. They want to run, and he's been relatively loyal to Carson, but they didn't have another option. Penny was a high draft pick, so we'll have to see. That gives me a little bit of concern. And I am a Chris Carson guy. He's a guy that I had picked a ton in our on Sundays when we have the 100 yards and a touchdown contest. I think I picked him 4 of our 13 games. So I have him capped at 20% tonight, and I'm saying let's play a little more Penny. That's where I'm going a little crazy. Now I am playing. I prefer Wilson, Cook, and Lockett. So by default, I've got to go away from Carson because I just don't have the salary cap for it. But.
Yeah, that's fair. And it looks like for these other value options, Josh Gordon, Malik Turner, and who's the third guy? Totally drawing a blank here.
David Moore?
Moore, yeah. So it looks like those guys are kind of alternating. In week 12, each one of them had around a 25 to 30% snap count. Of course, the last time we were on here, it was against the 49ers, and someone in chat suggested Malik Turner, and he wasn't doing anything. And then Tyler Lockett went out, and he had a big catch down the stretch there. So that's a sneaky play there, but too expensive for my liking tonight at 2K on DraftKings. I think I'd rather go elsewhere, especially with just a much safer play in Olabisi Johnson at $600 more, who's going to see like an 80% snap count probably.
Yeah, and he's the guy that's a little bit interesting, even by comparison against Diggs, just because of the massive discount, and he's only got about a 20% target discount.
Yeah.
Now, Diggs is by far the better talent and has the touchdown equity. But if we're getting picky and we're trying to be thrifty, that's one thing we may have to look at.
You're not wrong.
Right. I'm not having very fun putting together my primetime lineup here for the and I better hurry because I need to hit crunch on this other one. But for the Monday night through Thursday, so hitting that real quick, and then we'll get back to this game. But we have Dallas and Chicago. So you've got Randall Cobb was a little bit dinged up, but it's a cold, so he's probably shouldn't be an issue for playing him on the Thursday night game. It's Dallas at Chicago, so I think we would probably want to look at of all the defenses tonight. I think we'd want to look and that night I think we'd want to look at the Bears on DK, where I'm playing. The Bears are 2,900, Vikings 27, Cowboys 26, Seahawks 24. So it's not a real dramatic difference. The Cowboys are kind of a team in turmoil right now. because they keep losing. That's kind of a problem. I think we can go to Ezekiel Elliott. He's only 7,300 on this particular slate, which is rather nice. I'm eschewing the Seahawks run game on my main lineup. I'm going with Wilson and Lockett, and I got 6,100 left for a flex. The problem is I need 200 to get to Robinson, or I Thielen's out, and all of a sudden I'm playing Chris Carson, but I don't really want to play Chris Carson, so maybe I'll have to.
Miller.
I've already got Miller in my lineup.
Oh.
But I've got Irv Smith at tight end.
How
do I upgrade tight end? Is Kyle Rudolph an upgrade from Irv Smith? I don't know. He costs more, but they have about the same production. And then Hollister, as you mentioned, tough matchup. So
yeah,
I think I'm going to go with Irv Smith, and then.
What about Horsted? Is he the guy that caught a touchdown?
Oh, I don't want to go that. Well, I could go hard hitting Jason Witten.
Yeah, for sure. He's a safe play, I think. But I think if you want upside, it's like probably Irv Smith or Kyle Rudolph. But I like the Irv Smith call. He's going to fly under the radar, right? Like people, unless he's really cheap, he's I think he's probably a better play at the price point, right?
Yeah, because I like. And then we'll get back to this game because I know chat's getting crazy. I like Tariq Cohen at 4,400.
Oh, yeah. How do you not?
So I just need to find another 100. So I guess I could go Robinson and then go off the Bears defense and say, it is Trubisky. Why don't I go with the Cowboys defense? Because it's not really the Cowboys defense that's the problem, per se.
Just go a full Cowboys stack. The Bears are terrible.
Yeah.
Barely beat Jason Blow and the Detroit Lions.
Ugh.
Stack it up, full on.
All right. Well, we'll see because I'm going to.
Telling you right now, stack in the captain spot.
We shall see. I like how they do have the separate slate here on. Let's see. We've got a little note in chat here. I'm looking this up because it says Seahawks have been dealing with the flu.
I did not know that.
So it says, with an illness, and shout out for Premium Chat for hooking us up. With an illness sweeping the locker room this week, the Patriots did something uncommon. They took two planes. Seattle obviously doesn't have to do that, but they seem to be having issues as well. 8 different Seahawks have been reported with the flu, including Tyler Lockett and David Moore. Now, none of them were listed on the injury report tonight. Everybody is active, and we don't know where he is in the phase of the flu. Is he just recovering? Is he still in the 100+ fever range, etc.? But he is active tonight. Notable inactives would be Luke Wilson for Seattle, CJ Prosise for Seattle. We knew that Adam Thielen was going to be out, and then that's the only. Everybody else is defense. Not that defense is not important, but it's not people we're playing.
Seattle has the flu, all right. So I just haven't seen this line move too much. So I'm not going to over. I know it can affect things, but I'm not going to overreact to something like that. So if you got an edge, we've seen the line's actually moving towards the Seahawks right now. It's gone from 3 to 2.5. So.
Well, and this is actually a good theoretical talking point as well, because we had weather this weekend in several of the games, and it didn't really seem to impact anything. These are things that could be issues, but I don't know that they're necessarily actionable. It's an unknown. Okay, he's sick. He had the flu. Does that mean he's got the Trotskys? Does that mean he has a fever and is throwing up? Or does that just mean all he wants to do is sleep? I mean, if he's got to be running the bathroom all the time, okay, that's kind of a problem if you're trying to play football. But if it was just, basically he was sleeping for 17 hours a day for 2 days because he had the 48-hour flu, okay, that's a different thing. So it's hard to know. If you're risk averse, then go away from him. But if people who are risk averse didn't play Sterling Shepard this weekend and they didn't play Devontae Adams, but there are times when you do want to. Snow is one that is an absolute wild card. So you just want to understand it. If you don't have perfect information, let me say it. If you don't have better information other than just somebody's sick, I don't know that I want to change what I'm doing for it if they're active. We've seen plenty of people be decoys though. Nolan.
Yeah.
And we've also seen David Johnson. Remember, he went in, played 2 snaps, and then left and no-showed. So there is risk here. I'm not making light of that at all, but how much risk is there?
Yeah, it's true.
And we're at a binary decision point. We either play him or we don't. Or I guess you could adjust your.
Jeffrey's saying that eight players in the Seahawks have the flu, including Tyler Lockett and David Moore. So there you go. David Moore wasn't going to play him anyways. So.
No, but Tyler Lockett, that doesn't make me feel good.
Watching this beatdown my Buffalo Sabres are putting on the New Jersey Devils tonight. 5-0 already.
Really?
I trolled me here because Buffalo 2 or 3 scored. So
yeah, I was going to say I wonder what the old Finn hater's up to.
It's amazing. I'm surprised he's not trolling us in chat. So you're going Penny over Carson at those price points, or are you?
Yes, I'm playing him even. I'm really not getting to a lot of the Seattle run game.
Right.
So I'm kind of hoping they end up splitting it, which
that's fair.
is an outcome. Minnesota tougher against the run. Maybe we don't. But then there's garbage time. We saw the Patriots looking like they weren't doing much at all. Then garbage time hooked up a few players last night. So again, we're trying to, read the tea leaves on things that we don't have any control over, and sometimes coaches just do really weird stuff, like the Denver coach Fagiano, where he called the timeout to let the kicker kick the 65-yard field goal, then changed his mind, and then had to take a delay of game for a Hail Mary to end the half.
Well, there was a college game too where I didn't know you could do this in college. You can call 2 timeouts in a row. In
college, you can. I live in watched the Redskins. I watched Joe Gibbs do that. It's a penalty if you do it in the pros.
Yeah. It should be a penalty. Stop wasting our time.
Let's see. What do we got coming in from chat? Anything exciting?
I'm not in there currently.
Oh. What do we see? Nolan looks like Tyler Toffoli on the Kings.
Oh, well.
Is that a good thing or a not
he's
nice?
got to be just a handsome devil. So, oh yeah, look at him. It's just surprised he doesn't have a second gig as a model.
Here's one. They're asking about Josh Gordon. So there you go. That's actually a good question. So I think he's played about 20 snaps in each of the 2 games that he's been active for the Seahawks. He has 2 targets in each of those. Seahawks are going to want to make a run for the playoffs. They need to have him as an additional weapon because right now it's a running back, it's Lockett, and it's Metcalf. And then it's, again, their third string tight end. So, I mean, yay that he's got 3 touchdowns in his 4 games, but I don't know that that's sustainable based on his talent level. So what do we do with him? I don't know.
He's just not getting he's in a vacuum, not a good player. He has 2 targets since joining the team, weeks 8 through 11, I think. That's when he joined, right? So
yes,
2 targets all season. 20% snap count. I'm guessing I'll pull up Osimo's projections here, but I'm guessing he's going over owned. So we have him as a 0.1% chance of being the top scorer, 2.5% ownership, 8% chance of being in the top 2 to 5. And we have him at about 13-15% ownership. So it's like name recognition. I'm sure it's the kind of play where it's a good flyer at low ownership because you never know when a guy's with that talent and can go off. But at the same time, more often than not, I think he's probably a bad play in this situation. 4,400 for that price point. BC Johnson's going to see 4 times the amount of snaps as he is for $2,000 less. So just a much better play, I think, in my opinion.
All right. Someone was asking
if you're stacking with the Seattle Seahawks, it might not matter to you. Sorry, but
if we're nervous about Lockett, who do we go to next? In my opinion, I think you would go with DK Metcalf. Yeah. Because if you're not going to play Lockett because you're worried he's sick, that means somebody on the team's going to have to step up. If you wanted somebody in the same price range, then Diggs is close enough. You may have to tweak somebody else, but Diggs would be kind of close enough in that. But I would think if you're not playing Lockett because he's sick, then you want to move to another Seattle receiver. would just kind of be the way I would do it. I am not playing as if he is sick. That is a chance I am willing to take.
I think that makes sense.
Need to hit.
And my number one highest projected lineup tonight, using the Osmo rankings, BC Johnson, captain.
Really? So talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing there with the boom bust and with some of the other Osmo stuff here. Since people can get in for $1 today by using the promo code Cyber Monday, you get a whole week.
Don't sign up right now though. We've actually, because we've crashed the site right now. I forgot to mention that. We were supposed to have like the bandwidth for this, and I'm not sure what happened. We're trying to get to the bottom of it right now. But we've disabled that feature, the new membership feature, for the time being until we figure out what's going on. But it will be back up shortly. So just pay attention to the Twitter account to get back in there.
Yes, and you have till 3 a.m. Eastern tonight, so there's plenty of time to get in on it.
Yeah. So like old BC Johnson, like probably not a great captain pick. We're seeing him going over-owned in the captain spot, but he is. He's going a little over-owned, but he's going over-owned, but he's cheap, right? So I always sometimes forget to factor that in when we're talking about this, right? Like it's he's the best bargain on the slate by far, right? So ownership, you can find pivot points and roster construction in other places, but firing him up, I think, is probably a pretty smart move, and I got no problem with him in the captain spot either. You're going to be unique, and it allows you to pay up for a lot of different, a lot of these other top options, right?
Yeah, absolutely. From that one, and that's you got to look at the trade-off. What is happening? What do I get? Does it make the needle move? Like for me, yeah, I could pay up to for this Monday to Thursday game. I could pay up and get to Zach Rudolph because I have the extra money and I didn't want to leave $1,400 on the table. But is that really doing anything over Irv Smith? No. Okay, so what do I got to do with the rest of my stuff? That's kind of how you want to approach these things.
Yeah, exactly. You getting any kickers in D tonight?
I'm getting over to there right now. I'm uploading my, and we only have till 8:15. I was thinking it was 8:20, so I was a little more relaxed, but that is not the case because it is Monday night. So Monday night and Thursday night they're at 8:15. Sunday night it's at 8:20 game. Just to mess with us.
They're always doing it.
And I'm on the Sunday one, so I keep getting it confused as to which one's 8:15 and which one's not. All right, so let's download. How many? I've already got my main lineup in, so I'm happy with that. I am going to be making looks like 100 lineups, and we will see. So what I do is I play my main lineup in my 50-50s, my 3-mans, my head-to-heads, and then I have it in a couple contests. And then the other half of my money is in play, as I've mentioned before, in low-dollar tournaments here. And then that's where I'm putting in my different mixes and percentages and such. So let's see. I will be making... So I have 164 entries, but some of these are boosters and winner-take-alls, and I like to have those lineups somewhere else. Just because there's nothing worse than getting second in a winner-take-all and not having that lineup anywhere else. It's also frustrating if you have the absolute perfect lineup and it's in, a contest where your top prize is not nowhere near what a winner-take-all would be. So I like to just make sure that I've got these lineups in each. That's just a little quirky thing that I do. But I've learned, especially playing hockey this way, it's better for your sanity.
I like it. I like it a lot.
But let's see. So I've got that. I'm not setting many rules tonight because, well, one, I don't really have time, but two, everybody's very, very top heavy of the players I want to play. So what I'm doing is I'm coming in and I'm saying I'm going to set each of my captains at 10% right now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say random, and I've got the FC Pro randomness, so that's going to be 25. I'm going to say I can play max 5 players against the defense because I really don't care, because all I want is the pick 6, and then I've got 3 uniques. And let me make sure that none of the injured guys have points. They do not, so let's hit the old crunch here. Usually I run 50 to see what I get, and then I may, if I'm light on something, then I have room to say, okay, make 5 with this captain or 3 with this captain, etc. and that way I can get the final balance where I want. So with the way our projections are working, I'm kind of getting 10% of everybody at captain. So now I'm going to look and see. So Dalvin Cook, I think, is a good captain. I'm going to put him up to 30. That's double the field. I already have Wilson as the captain on half my teams. So we have him at 20. I'm just going to put my cap at 20 here because I already know half my money in play has him. So now I'll be way over the field if I count those other lineups for dollars in play. I'm not a real fan of Cousins. I've got a little Metcalf coming in here. I've got the kickers. I've got Odubisi Johnson. And there we go. So let's make this lineup. Now I want to see how many, and this is how quickly you can do it if you know what you're trying to do. So I want to see what I've got here with regards to the defenses. I'm getting 10% of the Vikings, 4% of Seattle. That's fine. Kickers, they're basically evenly priced. I'm getting about 25% of each. Again, because of how I'm forcing my lineups to do some certain things, I've got to go cheap. So with tight end, I'm getting Rudolph at 2%. Irv Smith at 30%, Hollister at 24%. That feels about right. Lockett, I'm coming in at 50. I feel comfortable with that. I'm not a huge fan of Diggs tonight. He's at 24. I'm getting a lot of Laquan Treadwell. So there's your cheap $1,200 player that can make things work for you. Another guy that was like that, if you want to get really, really crazy, is Tyler Conklin. He's $200. He has been active 2 weeks, each of the last 2 weeks, and he has 3 or 4 total targets. 3 of them came last week, and he had 2 catches for 28 yards. You are counting on a 0.
I got one more, too.
Pardon?
I got one more for you, too.
Okay.
Amir Abdullah.
Oh, Abdullah. Actually, where is he? That's actually not bad because he actually he's gotten receiving touchdown. He returns kickoffs for them, but he actually does get a carry or 2 about every other game. He really only gets his offensive snaps when it's a high leverage situation and they don't want and Cooks isn't in and or Dalvin Cook isn't in and they don't want Madison in there because it's a blocking situation or they want a veteran in the backfield basically because it might be they don't want him to fumble or screw up or do whatever. So I've went and looked at some of that. So he doesn't get consistent stuff, but he's probably a better play than Conklin. I have 0 right now.
Yeah, I think that's I am
fair. Going to make 3 lineups with him just in my player pool, not as the captain, but just in the regular flex spots.
I like it.
Just because I'm curious to see what those lineups look like. 55% Cook, I'm comfortable with that. 50% Russell Wilson, I'm comfortable with that. So basically what that's telling me is Cooks is on 76% of my lineups. Wilson is on 69% of my lineups combined between the captain and the other one. So that feels like I'm appropriately heavy for those guys. And that feels comfortable with where I'm at. Let's see if I'm missing anybody for captain that I wanted to get. I don't have the defenses as you know what? Rashad Penny probably needs 3 lineups with him as a captain. Because stranger things have happened. We like to call that the Pringle effect.
Yeah, no kidding.
So who's your sneaky high-scoring guy?
I mean, it's not sneaky, but I think it's kind of tough because I feel like these offenses are either concentrated or they're not. Like David Moore, Josh Gordon, these guys aren't getting enough snaps. I think Jerome Brown to justify Malik Turner to justify them like being very prevalent in your lineups, and I you're just really relying on the off chance that they go off. So I think you're much better off playing it a little bit safe. I would say the sneaky play maybe is Rashad Penny if Chris Carson fumbles and it just turns out that this is one of those scenarios where maybe the tide is turning and Carson's starting to lose a foothold on the starting job. We don't know. That's just speculation, but it certainly seems like it's a possibility if he continues to fumble. As well, Rashad Penny out-touched him 2-1 last game. So I think that's one spot I might look to go. And then I'm just going to be, peppering in these cheap Minnesota Vikings sleepers and BC Johnson and Irv Smith, who are getting a lot of snaps, running a lot of routes, and are just underpriced on this slate.
All right. Would you play from chat? So I'm uploading my lineup. So we got five minutes of questions here. Would you play Myers or Penny? Myers is the Seattle kicker.
I guess it depends on your lineup construction, right? You know, so let's just take a look at Myers here. Looks like he's maxed out at about 12 points. I feel like the higher upside plays Penny, the safer play is Myers.
Yep. So if you're playing head-to-heads, 3-mans, a single entry 50-50 or 5-man, I would probably go with Myers. Anything else I would put in Penny and have some fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did I close the wrong file here? Oh, that's not good. I need to get my file so I can upload it, Nolan.
Absolutely.
Let's see. If you were playing Russell Wilson, which of his offensive guys would you pair with him?
Sorry, what was the question?
Russell Wilson, who would you pair with him from the Seattle offense?
Yeah, so it's going to be Lockett. It's going to be, looks like we have Hollister rated out pretty well. And then, like, I wouldn't be afraid to go with a running back either. Like, going, like, that's, I don't know how contrarian it is these days, especially in the showdown slates. It's pretty obvious at this point. But, you know, the two running backs, if you think Penny's going to start, Lockett, Metcalf, and Hollister. We haven't really even talked about Metcalf today, but it's pretty much those three have pretty much taken control of this passing offense, not including the running backs here. Lockett 30 over the past 4 weeks. Lockett 35 targets, Metcalf 32, Hollister 24, and then it dips down to Chris Carson and David Moore. So David Moore is a deep threat probably. I think he had a really high ADOT last year. He just hasn't really, he suffered through some injuries and just hasn't really been himself this year. But there's a decent flyer, I think, though. I wouldn't have too much of him. And then you just go down, and it's like Jerome Brown, Malik Turner, Luke Wilson, who's out, I believe, and Josh Gordon, just not really getting a lot. You're basically just relying on them as flyers. And on the other side, I don't know. I just far rather go to the Minnesota side of things for my bargains tonight and pay up for Seattle.
Yep, just throwing it out there. 2 minutes left, so you won't get into it right now unless you've already signed up. But this is for Super Draft. I'm going to drop the link in chat and remind you on how to get in there. But looking at overlays their strategy. So they're overlaying their $3 contest it's going to overlay by at least 30%, it looks like. Their $10 contest is going to overlay by about 15%. So I think it's time to make a really quick team here, Nolan. If you were playing a captain and you had multipliers, which would be your high upside play? I
don't have the multipliers up in front of me. I think this is a great reason why, like, it's so handy to have the.
So here's where I'm playing Carson. This is my one hedge lineup. So I'm going to play him in the captain spot. I'm going to play Wilson as flex. I'm going to play Cook as flex. And then...
All right. So
now I need to get different. I think we go Bailey or Myers. I'm going to go Myers.
There's got to be an edge there for sure.
And then I have one spot left. Now, people will go Diggs or Cousins because those are the big names. I've already got Lockett on the other one. I'm going to go DK Metcalf. He has a 1.9 multiplier. So if he manages to score, that's going to be very nice. Now, the multiplier is also doubled on the lineups. So your cap, I forget what they call it here. Whatever your Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to. I'll lose my lineup. Whatever you pick. Well, let's just call it the captain for now. It's 50%. It's another 50% multiplier on top of their multiplier. Yeah. So it's kind of fun. Now we do have these projections over here that include the multipliers on Awesemo. So that takes the thinking out of it for you. We've got it with the Fantasy Cruncher as well. You can upload our projections that already have the multiplier on them and then choose that one if you want to look and see what the different lineup combinations are. That's what I've been doing when I've been entering the Sunday lineups, just so I could see what was going to happen, etc. But if you come in on our link and use the promo code Awesemo, if you deposit $100, they will give you $20 instantly in Super Draft cash that you can put into any contest right away. You just can't withdraw that money. It automatically takes that money first. And again, it's superdraft.io. So very, very fun, different wrinkle on things. And it's there's a lot of thought to it. So, I may have just lit $3 on fire, but whatever, it's $3. we'll have some fun. But I actually I've won a little bit over there, so I can afford to do that, Nolan.
Nice.
So we shall see. And we're at lock. Look at that.
Right.
It's a fast 45 minutes.
Hey, let's go. School.
All right, let's see. We've got a ton of stuff coming up tomorrow. We, of course, have at 9:30, you're going to get the NBA DFS strategy show. At 11 o'clock, you're going to get the NFL DFS strategy show. Around 4 o'clock, you are going to get, if you're a member, you're going to get behind the paywall, and Alex Baker, Osmo himself, is going to show you how he is building lineups with the information in the player pool that we have right then and there, and how to use all the different tools, how he uses boom and bust, how he uses different things, works with Fantasy Cruncher, how he looks and uses our lineup builder to see how the grades work out for him for uniqueness as well as for value, and it's very informational. And it doesn't have to be really for that slate, because this is basketball. Some weird thing turns everything on its ear with 20 minutes to go to lock. But what he teaches you how to do is think. Because we're going to play, basketball season lasts 180 days of DFS, and then there's another, 60 slates, 60 sub-slates of reasonable size, meaning more than 2 games. So we're looking at 220 instances of where we can apply this information. And I think that's something that is very, very valuable. He talks about how he uses randomness, uniqueness, if it's a small slate, what he does differently, if it's a big slate, what he does differently, when it's time to game stack, etc. And he just lays it all out there. You can ask him questions. It's a good time. So you can come in about an hour. You can sign up until 3 a.m. tonight with the promo code Cyber Monday, all one word, and you will get your 1 week subscription will cost $1. And you can find, if you don't want to go to the main site, just look at the pinned tweet. Just click on the link in that over at Osmo_COM, and it'll get you in there as well. But you can follow Nolan over there, Nolan _Kelly. You can find me at EmacDFS on Twitter. And as I mentioned, it's Osmo_COM. So with that, gamers, good luck.